All right, this is Ubaid on behalf of V Electronics, and in this video, we're going to be talking about frequencies as well as cumulative frequencies. All right, now when it comes to frequency, and let me write this down. So this is frequency. Your frequency has to do with how many times something happens. Okay, so number of times something happens. Okay, so say for example, something could happen twice, it could happen 5 times, it could happen 10 times. Okay, so on and so forth. Okay, so frequency has to do with number of times something happens. And your cumulative frequency on the other side, we'll talk about this later, okay, or more like cumulative relative frequency. It has to do with a total of all relative frequencies, okay, or previous relative frequencies. The total of all previous relative frequencies. Okay, and what is relative frequency, you may ask? So this has to do with a ratio. Okay, so relative frequency, as the name suggests, it has to do with relative to something. So relative to the total, for example. So relative frequency. All right, so say for example, if the frequency of something happening, let's say a lightning, okay, if the frequency of lightning is, let's just say, okay, 5, 6, okay, 7, 8, okay, so on and so forth. Okay, now the total number of times that you observe lightning, okay, may have been a total of these four numbers. Okay, so say for example, this would be 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8. Okay, this is 26. So this would be 5 over 26. Okay, this would be 6 over 26. This would be 7 over 26 and 8 over 26 relative to something, relative to your base, which is 26. Okay, another example would be, okay, say for example, you go hunting and you've got 20 hunters, and 20 hunters, they take their shots, okay, and they're only successful, okay, well, some of the times when they shoot, okay, they're not successful all the time. So when you have measurement of success in terms of hunting, okay, you can use frequencies. Okay, so say for example, um, two hunters, okay, or you know what, let's just say 15 hunters, okay, got one of their shots right on target. Okay, then you have 10 hunters got, okay, five of their shots right on target. And then you have five hunters who got, okay, let's say 10 of their shots right on target. Now we know there is a total of 20 hunters. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to divide this. Okay, so 15 divided by 20. Okay, this would be an example of relative frequency. Okay, 10 divided by 20. Okay, so value divided by the sum of all values. All right, so here you have 5 divided by 20. Okay, so this would be 5, 4, so 3/4 or 75%. This would be 1/2 or 50%. And this would be 1/4 or 25%. So this has to do with relative frequency. All right. And then when it comes to cumulative relative frequency, your cumulative relative frequency would be adding up all previous frequencies. Okay, so let's say this is 3/4. Okay, let's say this is 3/4. All right. And let's say this is 1/2, and then this is 1/4. Now this is your relative frequency. So your cumulative relative frequency would be, this would stay at 3/4. So this would be adding 3/4 and 1/2. So we know that 0.75 or 3/4, 0.75 plus 1/2, which is 0.50, will be 1.25. So over here, your cumulative relative frequency is 1.25. Over here, your cumulative relative frequency, this is 1/4. So you add, okay, 1 divided by 4. So this will be 1.5. 1/4 is 0.25 plus 1.25 is 1.50. So this is your cumulative relative frequency. So this is basically how you figure out your relative and cumulative relative frequencies. On behalf of V Electronics, this is Obey. Have yourself a great day.